1, go.
So you just got that new Instant Pot, probably delivered on your porch yesterday or today, and you're dying to know how to use it. So tonight I'm going to make a super easy, fast, simple supper that your whole family will like. Our family calls this pepper stew, and it's a long story that's changed a number of times on why it's called pepper stew. Just so you know, it is neither spicy or stewy. It's mostly a hamburger, macaroni and cheese kind of casserole that's just a really great thing to do really quickly in your Instant Pot. So first I want to talk about your Instant Pot. I'm going to use my surface of my stove tonight. And when I do that, I need to have something down to protect my stove from the bottom heating element of my pot. And you also want to make sure if you set it on your stove, you don't turn your stove on. That's a bad plan. So the first step of what we're going to do tonight includes sauteing. So remember your pot, the lid will come off here, and inside you've got the removable pot. If you use yours a lot like me, you want to make darn sure you have it in there because it looks kind of similar without it. And that's a bad plan for all involved if that doesn't go. So I'm going to turn this to saute and let it start getting a little warm while I talk about the rest of the ingredients. So we've got hamburger, we've got corn, we have some pasta, and for this recipe I like kind of a big heartier pasta. We have some garlic, we have some onion, we have some processed American cheese, which normally I'm not a huge fan of, but for this recipe I am. And we have some of our homemade turkey stock from our turkey bones that I did in the Instant Pot earlier this week. So first thing that's going to go in my Instant Pot is the hamburger. I'm trying to make kind of a big batch tonight. Number one, because I have this preteen that is hungry all the time. And so I'm using about 1.5 pounds of hamburger. And I'm not going to salt my hamburger. Normally I would salt my hamburger now and maybe even pepper it. I might put some pepper in, but because I'm using that processed American cheese, there's a lot of salt already in that. So I have the hamburger in, and I have 1 diced onion that I'm going to add. And then I'm going to use this little tool. This might be one of my very favorite kitchen tools ever. I call it a hamburger chopper. I'm sure there is a better name for it than hamburger chopper. But it really nicely breaks up all of that hamburger. And I'm just going to cook, just like if I was cooking on top of my stove, that hamburger and that onion. I am going to add just a little bit of pepper. But it's one thing I love about this, it comes up to heat really fast. You can already hear it start to sizzle. This will probably take about 5 minutes or so for the hamburger to get done. And while that's doing its thing, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about leftovers. And, sideways there, didn't I? So I know I said we're going to use corn, and normally I would use just regular whole kernel corn, but since this is still the week right after Thanksgiving, I have quite a bit of leftover creamed corn. And so one of the ingredients at the end, when you're adding the Velveeta, you add some milk, and instead of adding milk, I'm just going to have already had that in because I have homemade creamed corn that I'm going to use. When I post this recipe on my blog, I'll write it as if you don't have leftovers, but something that I think is just so important is that you look in your fridge, you see what you have, and you make it work for the dinners that you're going to have in your house. So this is starting to get its sizzle on. I just use my hamburger chopper, and I start breaking that meat apart. And we'll come back in about 5 minutes and do part 2.